Hi, it's Mark from Top Local. We're here with Bernie Pawlik. Pawlik Automotive in Vancouver, Vancouver's most approved, most favored, most voted for auto service experience. How you doing this morning, Bernie?
Doing really well.
So we're going to talk about common problems with Ford F-150 trucks. These have been around for at least 50 years. What kind of track record? You've got a great long track record. So what kind of problems do you regularly see with these vehicles?
Well, there's quite a few issues. F-150s in Canada, they say that it's the top selling pickup truck and it's been going on for years and years. So they must be doing something right. But there are a few common issues with these vehicles specifically. And I mean, some of them, in my opinion, are pretty serious. You know, they'd make me not want to buy a Ford truck.
So what would be some example issues?
Well, probably the biggest one over the years, and the Ford has fixed this issue, but spark plug problems. In the early 2000s, there were spark plugs that were blowing out of the cylinders. There weren't enough threads to hold the spark plugs properly into the cylinders. I mean, bad engineering. Typically, the problem would happen when you've got say on a van. Well, we're talking about trucks here, but they use the same engines. You got a van fully loaded with 15 passengers. You're driving up a mountain grade. Boom! A spark plug pops out. Not a great time to do that. Now, to Ford's credit, they fixed it with a spark plug that seizes into the cylinder head. So when you go to change it, you've got 8 spark plugs in a V8. Half the time, if you get lucky, you'll get all 8 of them out, but most of the time, 1 or 2 break off. Again, engineering, not a good design, but a little easier to manage because at least the vehicle's in the shop. So, I mean, that's a really big thing. Now, by the late 2000s, Ford changed the design of their spark plug, lots of threads, normal kind of spark plug, no more breakage. So unless unusual circumstances. So that's been dealt with. To me, that's the biggest issue. But some of the other things we see, exhaust manifolds. Seems like most F-150s, again, in around the 2000 range, the manifolds warp. You get big exhaust leaks. You need to replace the manifolds and gaskets. So that's another pretty large issue.
An expensive one, I would imagine, too.
Yep. Yeah. Other items too around engines. They've gone to a overhead camshaft engine. V8 runs really great, lots of power, but there's a lot of issues with the timing chains. There's a cam phaser. It's a variable valve timing adjustment piece. There's solenoids that activate it. These parts fail. They cause problems, and people don't change their oil regularly. That causes them to fail too.
So what about transmissions?
There are a few transmission issues on these vehicles. Worse in the older years, better as we get into newer years. But yeah, there are some transmission issues. I can't say specifically what some of them are, but a lot of them do require overhauling.
So what about other kind of common problem areas? Heating, air conditioning, electrical systems, etc.
You know, we fix a few things like door latch switches that don't work. I mean, the heating and AC system seems to be fairly reliable. And there are things that go wrong with the heater blower motors, but nothing exceptional. And fit and finish in the truck is pretty good. That's I think another reason why they sell it. They build a nice truck. They're nice to drive, nice to sit in. The controls work well, and for the most part, those things are fairly reliable. There are some things like any vehicle that will go wrong, but nothing overly common.
How about the steering and suspension?
Yeah, pretty well built. Don't see a lot of, again, ball joints and tie rod ends and things will wear over time, but nothing abnormal. Again, shock, suspension is pretty good. Drivetrain, we do the odd rear end, Ford truck, but they're pretty high mileage. They've been used well. So the drivetrain's built pretty well. Four-wheel drive system works well. Occasional issues with the electronic transfer case, but again, nothing really glaring.
So are there any years that have more problems than others?
It seems, and so we work on a wide variety of vehicles, and I can't say from my own experience there's one year that's worse than others, but there's a good website called carcomplaints.com. They've got a really good listing of all different model years, and for Ford F-150s, there's a lot of items listed. It seems like 2004 is the worst year that in their listing, but one of the problems that they seem to list a lot of transmission issues, engine issues in 07 to 09. So those are, again, just stuff to watch and look at, and a lot of those engine issues are around the timing chains. If you're buying something used, you really want to find someone who's really maintained it really well. If you're the original owner, let's hope you've been doing oil changes regularly, because that does make a big difference for those kind of problems. A couple other issues too, just getting off of that, the Ecoboost engine, that's a fairly popular option, in the 2010s or an up range. We don't see a lot of these engines, and in searching for issues, I don't see a lot of them. I would imagine they'll be a twin turbo V6. That kind of engine's under a lot of strain. Again, change your oil. That's the key to long life in that particular engine. It's a good concept, but with 2 turbochargers, you've got a lot of expensive accessories on the outside of your engine to go wrong.
So there you go. If you're looking for service for your Ford F-150 in Vancouver, the guys to see are Pawlik Automotive. You can reach them at 604-327-7112 to book your appointment. You must book ahead, or check out their website, pawlikautomotive.com. Thanks, Bernie.
Thanks, Mark.